Hello, everyone. My name is Abbas, and welcome to the second episode of Under the Hood, a series where I talk to people I find inspiring and where we get to know what inspired them to do. सीखो ये क्या है?
You find me inspiring. You should have told me earlier. Why you're giving me shocks? Okay.
Yeah, of course, I find you inspiring. Okay, so yeah, the people I find inspiring, and we're gonna talk to them and get to know what inspired them to do the things that they are doing. Today we have Sikandar Hayat with us. He's a geoscientist or a geologist. Um, we're gonna ask him what does he prefer to be called. Currently, he is studying under the Erasmus Mundus Joint Degree Program in the University of Athens, University of Pannonia,
No, University of Athens.
University
My
of
first semester was in France, University of Lille, and now I'm in University of Athens.
Okay, and he's doing a specialization on Coccolithophores, and we are going to talk to him and get to know more and more about what Coccolithophores are. But the thing that inspired me mainly about him was, or currently is that his interest in geoparks, or mainly how geoparks or geological sites can be a way of improving the tourism sector of Pakistan. Along with that, he's running a geo communication channel on Instagram with the name Geotalkies. And soon he's going to start a YouTube channel about it as well. So, Sikandar
How
Ayat, thank
to
you very
say?
much.
Thank you very much, Abbas. And I don't know how this interview is gonna be because we are very informal, and this interview should be little bit formal. But let's see how it will go.
Yeah, I think it would be a bit
Thank you very
difficult
much for
for
inviting
us.
me. Basically, I'll tell you a little bit about this Pangea Master Program. So basically, Pangea is a supercontinent, but it's
Hmm.
also a short form for this name is acronym for Applied Paleontology, Geobiology, and Geoconservation. So there are three different tracks within this program.
Hmm.
So you can go to either of not. It's not your decision, but you apply to, and then they select you like whatever is good for you. So I was selected for Applied Paleontology,
Hmm.
but it is a really like integrated thing again. Like we just don't like not only study about paleontology but also environmental sedimentology and what's happening right now. For example, now I'm working on Coccolithophore. They are like phytoplankton, small uh, organisms,
Hmm.
and I'm working on the samples from 2015 to 2018 from Eastern Mediterranean
Okay.
and the deepest part of Eastern Mediterranean from sediment traps within the Mediterranean Ocean, and these traps are at the depth of 4,300 meters. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the depth of the Mediterranean seabed.
This, yeah, this area is kind of the deepest part of Mediterranean. It's the Ionian Sea basically.
Oh, it's okay. So why coccolithophores? What are they, and what do they show us?
They are really interesting organisms because they are a huge contributor to the oxygen that we inhale. Mostly
Okay.
we hear, yeah,
Isn't that
because
trees?
no, of course there are trees, but for example, we always hear about the Amazon rainforest and other big forests, but the truth is that, for example, Amazon rainforest, the net budget is zero because the oxygen they produce, they utilize it for because they're big canopies and of the trees, and the organic matter goes down and decompose at the forest floor or at the floor of these trees, and it utilizes the oxygen. So basically, we don't have much oxygen left for the atmosphere and for us to inhale by these jungles and these trees. But
So, so in a
coccoliths are
way,
producing most of the oxygen. Yes, yeah.
so why is there such a big boom about planting trees? And we need a green environment. We need to plant more and more trees. There are a lot of drives going on. Is it
There,
useful, or is it helpful?
oh, of course, they're like trees are very useful to. For example, there are a lot of things. For example, they prevent the erosion of the soil, and for maintaining the moisture in the atmosphere. There are a lot of other things also. So, and to make the earth cool also. So trees have important roles. It's not like that we don't need them, But
Hmm.
when we say that these are lungs of the earth, that's not true. Like,
Okay.
yeah, coccoliths are basically the main producer of the oxygen that we breathe.
And coccoliths, where do they exist? How can then we save them? And what do they have to do with the, let's say, the things that we are talking about, climate change and global warming?
Yeah, they are also getting affected by the climate change, but because they are in ocean, so and ocean acidification and all these things, they may impact them badly. But so far, like it's not like very bad as compared to the trees and like clearing of the forest and all these things. Cockroaches are relatively like protected, but they live on the ocean surface, and yeah, they're phytoplanktons. They get the light and make they're like just like plants, but on a very small scale. So they live on the surface of the ocean until where the light can penetrate. Some species live a little bit deeper in the shadow, but most of them live in the light zone. And the interesting thing is the chalk that we use, chalk mostly for black
Hmm.
hole.
Hmm.
This is composed of the skeletons of these coccolithophores. It's full of when you will edit the video, maybe you can add the picture of it. I'll send you
Hmm.
some pictures. It's
Okay.
really interesting that, and they're so intricate and so beautiful because I'm studying them at 1,000 zoom. You know, it's really 1,000 zoom, and because the size of each coccolithophore is a ball, like a ball,
Hmm.
you know, but it's composed of little discs, just like a football. You know the football.
It's
Football
made up of
has
these
a
small
lot of
patches. Yeah.
patches.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. So coccolith is like a ball composed of little like discs. So they just like attached to each other, and basically the purpose we still this is again a very surprising thing. Like we don't exactly know what is the but this is like unicellular thing. The whole coccolithophore is a unicellular organism, and we still don't know what is the purpose of these discs. So sometimes some people say like this is to maintain the pressure, like to from the water pressure. Some say like to protect the cell because cell is inside that ball from the predators. Some say from different chemical stuff around them, and but still for sure we don't know like what is the exact purpose of these.
Hmm. I recently saw your stories on Instagram where you shared the pictures. I imagine they were of coccolithophores, but there I saw them in shapes of the cylinders and many different shapes, and not just a sphere or a ball. What was it? Was it the same thing?
No, this could be like a cylinder or a little bit like what would this shape called like a rugby ball, for example.
Hmm.
But I haven't seen yet like they can be like a flower also,
Hmm.
but a cylinder I haven't seen so far. Like they can be like they must be a circular shape. Most of the time they are like rounded. Sometimes they are like little petals, like not like discs, but like little petals going out of the center.
Okay. Okay.
And that,
And it's
that thing maybe you're talking about the pollen and spore
oh
fossils. One
yes,
of
I
my
remember. Yes. Yes.
very
Sorry.
good
Yeah.
lab mate is working on that. So yeah, maybe it's about that.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
But it's
Yeah.
really interesting. Like, they are so small basically, and they can tell us a lot about so many things. And this is true for most of the fossils.
Hmm.
Like they are like, for example, foraminifera that I worked in Peshawar. They also are amazing fossils that tell us about the depth. Like you just look at the fossil and fossil assemblage, like different kind of species. For example, there are four different kind of fossils, fossil foraminifera, and you can tell like how deep was the water, like water was clean, water was agitated, how much like how energetic was the water, like there was like high energy water, a lot of waves, or was it calm, how much food was there, just by looking at the fossil you can do without any geochemistry and all these things. You
Hmm.
look at the fossil and you know that these are like five kind of species and they like this kind of environment, so you can interpret it.
Okay.
This is
So
like very interesting.
by studying the data or the samples that you collected from 2015 to 2018, what are you trying to find out from that?
I'm trying to find out the seasonality in the seasonality in the species, and basically I'm working on the because they produce carbonate, calcium carbonate. these like small coccolithophores, these are basically calcium carbonate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at that, like how the species variation is throughout the time, like with each month. Like for example, in 1 month, one species is dominant, and in the other month, other species is dominant. So I'm basically trying to figure out how this thing pattern changed in these 3 years and by each month also, like
Mm-hmm.
which species become dominant and which species become less, and overall like total number of coccoliths. For example, 1 month maybe is more because of some reason, because of different kind of currents within Mediterranean that may affect them, and temperature, for example, surface water temperature, or like the dust coming from the from the Sahara and from the Africa, because it fertilizes surface water also. So it also affects the number of coccoliths and the productivity. So I'm basically working on all that, like how to figure out what is the throughout this time frame what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's very very interesting. And
Okay.
this is the first time like I'm somebody studying from that this much depth from Mediterranean.
Oh, okay. So no
Yeah.
one has ever done that before?
No, this is like first time I'm studying that. Some of the students from PhD students and other people from here from Athens, they are working on samples that are from like from the same location but shallower. For example,
Okay.
one sediment trap is here, so mine is like at the bottom.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
there are people who worked on the same location but at different depth. And then there are people who worked on the other locations but at
Mm-hmm.
different depth.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it would be very, very interesting. Like I will have the data of my depth and my like overall thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can compare it to like all of this data and then figure out like the big picture. Because in geology, big picture is very important always. Like
Mm-hmm.
you look at a thing and it means nothing when you look at like very near. Okay, you know what kind of species are there and everything, but you need to have a bigger picture view. I guess I tell you this story like one of our teacher told us, I guess in Budapest or in Lille or in Peshawar, I don't exactly remember, but they told us like, yeah, I guess it was in Peshawar. Like, imagine like an elephant,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you are a little ant, okay,
Okay.
and you are if you are on the elephant, on the ear of elephant, you will not feel like it is like an elephant. You will feel like it's like very something like ear, like something, or a little flap or leaf or something. When you are in his tail, you feel like it's a jungle or something. And when you are in his belly, it's a different feeling. In his eye, it's like very sketchy and like very like slippery, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But and you will have not accurate information. You will have accurate information, but still you don't have the accurate information like what this eye is. But when you go back and look at everything together and pieces come together, and this is a very interesting way to look for my discipline. I don't know about psychology, but in geology, this is very, very important because for each area, you like, if I'm working on any area, I just don't like, just my specific field is not enough. I need to know about the surrounding areas and the mountain building processes. We call it tectonics, and a lot of things like to have a good view of like what's happening, like, dynamics of the area and everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. What you're saying is actually sounds very, very specific, and it's very field specific. So how did you, as a child growing up, how did you come to the realization that stones was something that you were interested in? You know, usually we joke around and we say "Vatto ka shauk hai, vatte chunte raho." So so how did you come about actually being interested
I
in
was very
geology, or how did you
enthusiastic
realize?
since I was very enthusiastic since early childhood. No, it is not
Early
like that.
childhood.
When we do FSC, we mostly have we don't have like any idea. Like FSC is if you have international audience, so FSC is basically high school. That
Mm-hmm.
we say high school. So at that time, like most people don't have any idea about what geology is. But luckily, I have a lot of people in my family who are working in the petroleum industry, and I have some idea like okay what geology is. And then there was 2005 earthquake and 2010 floods, and because I
Mm-hmm.
used to read newspapers, and sometimes like, there are things like why these floods are happening, what's happening with the atmosphere and climate change, and where these winds are coming from, and like why this earthquake. And there was epicenter in, for example, Kashmir in Balakot. Like so, what it means, what is epicenter? So, I was a bit curious, like not very intelligent student, but really curious student. So
Hmm.
I had some idea like there's some kind of subject, but I was really not sure that they offer it in Pakistan or not. But then after my high school, after my FSC, so I was lucky enough to get admission in University of Peshawar. It is like one of the best university in Pakistan, arguably one of the best university still. And there I met like really amazing teachers. But the sad thing is the students, most of them, students who were with me, they were either rejected from medical or rejected from engineering, and this stigma of rejection, like they always keep it with themselves, and they just never grew out of it. So they say like, ah, geology is for losers.
Mm-hmm.
That is like in Pakistan, this is the concept. Like geology is not something like an intelligent person should study, and it's really sad because with with the climate change, with everything, we need really good geologists. And if everyone is like crazy about medical or engineering, so who will come to geology? So half of my class was like that. They got rejected from either medical school like MBBS or from engineering. So they come to geology and they were not enthusiastic, so they just barely passed. And now most of them are still waiting in Pakistan and just they are doing nothing basically. So
Hmm. So
and then they
you,
blame geology for that.
uh-huh.
This is the even sadder part. Like they blame geology for, so they say, oh, we don't have any career in that, we don't have this and that and all that. But when they were in the classroom, they were not interested at all. So basically, what we used to do, there was like our very nice senior. He maybe I should not discuss that, but yeah, I will discuss that. So basically, he made his notes from class. From class, he made some notes, and then he gave the notes to a photocopy shop. And so what we used to do, like we go in the class and attend the classes and everything. Like people who are interested, they ask questions to from teacher and everything. But most of the students they go to just this photocopy shop, buy the notes, study them like 3 nights before the exam, and that's it. So they pass the exam.
Mm.
And so their whole purpose was to just pass the exam
I mean, being from
without any
Pakistan,
questions or anything.
sorry,
So yeah,
being from Pakistan, I think I would assume that geology not to be a field where someone would actually want to. It's like, oh, I want to study geology. Like mostly, it's a thing that we don't even know in our um, the end of middle school and um, high school, even books. They have very basic geology. It's mostly part of the Pakistan studies where there is half of it is history, which is arguably uh, or you know controversial statement that it's somehow
one year
muddled
of
and it's
history.
it's 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 not a real history. Yeah, so that is all we know about geology. So I'm still a bit confused, like so it was your family background and the earthquakes that made you think, okay, now I want to study geology, this is the field that I want to study. Like, was there any significant event that happened and moved you toward this field, or was just this interest in knowing about the earth?
This was like this interest about uh, first of all, like there's of course always the family influence. So I see people around me, and they were really rich, because like first wells in Pakistan, the oil wells they are drilled just next to my house. I'm from Atak, so they are like in Potohar Basin.
Mhm.
So all these wells were drilled in Potohar Basin, all the wells in the beginning. So the thing is like there was all the association of geology with money. So in our area, at least, like geology was in a very respectful field. So many people ask me like, oh, okay, you should go for geology.
Okay.
So it's as respectful as engineering. So yeah, that was a fact because I was not very clever and all that. So it is kind of yeah, I really liked it before even joining it, but this factor was also there. Like okay, I will earn a lot. But then my whole when I went into it, then the whole perspective changed. Of course, like now I don't want to work in an oil industry or something. I have other things to do, but yeah, then at that
Mm.
time it was this thing also.
Okay, so you already came toward this topic of scholarship groups, and I would mention this again that you are already you have a geocommunication platform, but at the same time you are admin of this Facebook page and Facebook group. Facebook page is Scholars Talk, and the Facebook group is Scholarship Cafe
and
and
counseling
Counseling.
cafe,
Yeah,
counseling cafe.
Counseling Cafe. Okay, okay. So, how did you come up with the idea of making this? Of course, you're not the only admin. You are along with other members like Kamran Amin, and on and on. So, how did you think of doing that?
So it was during the pandemic, run by an amazing fellow of us, and he just finished his PhD and now started teaching in Chinese Academy, University of Chinese Academy of Science. Amazing guy. So like there's a little group of people, students. So we already communicated with each other for some things. And then at that moment, it was pandemic, and everyone was locked in their houses, and people were panicking, and students were also panicking because many students were not getting the visas for. They already got admission in foreign universities, and they were not getting the visas, and there was like a lot of panicky stuff happening in Pakistan, and new students graduating at that time, they had no idea like okay what future will be and how things will work out and how everything. So our team, like 4 or 5 people, basically on volunteering basis, and still it's on volunteering basis, of course. So we came together and we decided like okay, let's do something to help this segment of society where like everyone has no access to career counseling and paid help for different kind of documentation and scholarships and guidance and every all these things. So then a very interesting group of people from all around the world, from America, from Turkey, from Europe, a lot of different countries, China, Japan, from everywhere basically. A lot of people came together. You also were one of them. So we started doing like different kind of these small half an hour, 1 hour, these kind of programs and talking about different issues, about scholarships, about letter of motivations, about different general problems of students and problems faced by the female students. And we also invited some teachers, like how they feel about, because there's a thing like in Pakistan, many students are really angry about like how teachers don't give them like, letter of references and they don't come to
Hmm.
classes on time and all these things. And so we get the perspective of teachers also, like why they are annoyed with the students. So
Hmm.
it has been so far really interesting, and we hope like now it's luckily it's really it's growing really fast. Like just within 1.5 year, I guess, 2 years, I don't know. It's more than 30,000 like followers now.
Yeah, there's actually very okay. I think
Sorry,
we have a slight disconnection.
yeah, I got a call. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
So it's growing really fast. It was like a brainchild of Kamran Amin, but then people came together and this is a very interesting thing. You always there's so much negativity about Pakistani people in general, we don't help each other and this and blah blah blah. But I feel like it's not true. To some extent, it's true, but mostly it's not true. Like there are a lot of good people and really want to help. They just don't have platform. So
And I have noticed this that, and probably you would disagree with me on it maybe sometime because of a little bit of experience that you had, that people who actually reach a certain point through humility, I guess, through their own, okay, not necessarily completely their own struggle, but maybe a combination of their struggle and a bit of luck, they are the ones that are actually willing to help more. And even if they, on volunteering basis mostly, to help the other students usually who are confused in Pakistan, to help them at least know about the opportunities that there are, because the biggest problem with Pakistani people is that they don't even know the opportunities that are available of scholarship, especially at bachelor and master, and then again at PhD level. I think it's even more opportunities.
yeah, this is a very interesting point actually. And this again is something like if I get to some point just because I have a lot of money, I have a lot of connections. If like my parents are very rich, I have a lot of connections, then I don't owe anything to the society. So I just say like, okay, my father spent money, so I should owe like I owe to him just. I have some connections, so I should owe to them just. But it is not true for most of us because there are a lot of first luck, first thing. and then hard work a little bit, and
Hmm.
then our mentors. In my case, for example, I really cannot thank enough my mentors in my university, Dr. Sulaiman, Dr. Sajad. So they really polished me like in so many ways, not just only in education, but in so many other ways also. And
Hmm.
they told me like, okay, this opportunity. They first told me like, okay, do the GRE, do the TOEFL. When I was in the last year of my bachelor's, and then I did this and I got admission in University of Houston. And then my visa was rejected, but still I was on the right path. Like when you do the GRE, you get like, oh, okay, I'm competent enough, so now I should apply other places also. So wherever, then after that I applied, I got the admission, I got a scholarship after that everywhere basically. So
Yeah.
this kickstart, many people just need a little kick.
Hmm. Yeah, but I would agree
And
with you.
I got a lot of kicks in my whole life. Then I came to Budapest, I met you guys, and so we always like collaborate with each other. We help each other to grow. Actually, yeah, it's not always like your seniors or your juniors. It's peers also. Most of the time, it's peers.
Mm.
Speak
And
up.
another thing about the opportunities I would want to mention, um, that I remember when I started to make these videos on YouTube on my channel about the scholarship opportunities. It was at the time when I was rejected. I applied to a bunch of universities, mainly in the US, and I didn't get full scholarship from any of them. And so it was the lowest point in my life in a way, because I also applied for the MBBS. I scored actually in the middle range of ETA, so I didn't qualify for any medical school. And it was at that moment that I partially to just distract my mind, and partially because YouTube was a new thing at that time. I was like, okay, what's wrong? I'm gonna start making YouTube videos about the scholarship opportunities, because I had spent more than a year compiling all the details on my notebook. And I actually started making those videos, and there was one of them. One of those videos is a U.S. summer sister exchange program. It's a scholarship program in the U.S. for Pakistani students. And I realized, and also about Oxford Royal Academy. It's a summer school for high school students. And what I realized was that now, when I look back at those videos, the video I made actually has more views and comments than the actual videos made by University of Oxford, which is kind of funny because
Crazy.
yeah, that the video itself didn't explain much or wasn't actually guiding them for anything. And the video I made as a student was actually much more helpful to the people. And so, yeah, I agree that, and a lot of people applied, and actually they contacted me once they got selected for that program, both for the Oxford Royal Academy and also for the Summer Sister Exchange program. So yeah, I think
Such
the
a
thing
nice
about,
feeling. Like you did
yeah,
some effort of 1 day or 2 days, and you searched everything, and you made this video, and now like it is there on YouTube for like rest of the time,
yeah, yeah,
hopefully.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
so good. Like it's a good feeling. Like okay, you're helping somebody out without actively helping. Actually, like you did something once, and this is a very beautiful thing of social media. It
yeah,
just thing stays there.
yeah. Okay, Sikandar. So, since you have already spent your time here in Europe, I think how many years? Now it's gonna be four, right? Four and a half
Four
years.
and a half.
4.5 years in Europe. What do you think generally is the difference between geological awareness or geo awareness in Europe versus that in Pakistan, or the focus on geology basically in rather in academia or even in everyday normal people?
So there are two things. Like one is like the academic knowledge of geology, and other the knowledge of geology among the common people. So there's a big difference between the two. And in Pakistan, in academia, people are really good actually.
Okay.
Especially University of Peshawar, in Punjab University, in Karachi University, they're really, really competent people. For example, in Peshawar University, like almost all of the faculty members are foreign qualified, and they have like really nice PhDs, and they have very good research. And same, I guess, with the Punjab University and Karachi University. But the thing is, like, we're still kind of stuck in a way that we are doing the same kind of research repeatedly. Like, there's lack of innovation, and that is true for, I guess, all the disciplines in Pakistan. Like, if one thing is a good hit, and then we keep on doing the same thing for next 10 years. So same is happening in geology also. Like I don't want to go into the like academic details, but this is happening in Pakistan. Like if like some of the things are very successful, then everyone start doing that and then neglect the other different aspects of geology. But nowadays, for example, University of Peshawar, there are a lot of innovative projects by teachers and funded by HEC and different other organizations. So it's a really healthy thing, and I guess we are going forward. And I'm not very sure about other universities what's happening there, but University of Peshawar, there's a lot of innovation happening in the geology department and in center also,
Okay.
especially in the geology department. And coming towards the knowledge level of students who are in bachelor's in Pakistan and in Europe, I guess it's almost similar. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's really similar. For example, in Pakistan we have in Peshawar University we have annual system. So I can only talk about Peshawar University because I don't have much idea about. I have some idea about other universities that are like new universities in KPK especially, and they are still in a budding phase. So their curriculum is very good, but still like expertise are missing. Some
Hmm.
expertise are missing. So students are not as competent as old universities like Peshawar University or Punjab University or Karachi University. But our syllabus is just like syllabus in UK or in European countries. It is at par with that.
Hmm.
But then again, there are problems. For example, in software, uh, I don't know now. Maybe it's changed or not. But when I was there, so we study what is mouse, what is freaking keyboard, what is CPU during our bachelor's. And that is such a sad thing because here in Hungary, in France, in Greece, here during their bachelor, students study like GIS, ArcGIS, R software, different other like these kind of softwares instead
Hmm.
of what is computer, what is CPU, what is this, what is that, what is software, what is hardware, like completely useless. So we never had a practical class in our computer science course when we were in Peshawar University. So that's a sad thing. In this respect, they are really good, like in Europe. And the other thing is like in Pakistan still, and this is again true for all the fields. Like the education system is very much teacher centric.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, so teacher gave you notes, teacher gave you lecture, teacher do everything. And when somebody graduate, we like I remember that I had only one or two presentations during my whole academic career in Pakistan.
Mm.
And that's a sad thing because here in each semester we have like 5 or 10 different presentations, and that really prepare you for how to face the audience and how to answer the questions and all these things. And that is not happening very much in Pakistan, I guess.
Mhm. I
And
have
then
very
student is not sorry, yeah, yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I was saying I have a very similar experience. The thing you mentioned about universities being teacher centric. I have been used to this system, including Uzair, my friend, another friend, and who also came with us. And I guess most of Pakistani people, that when we come here, it's a very different situation, because if you yourself want to study, um, that is the only way forward. Of course, you can pass the exams. That it's not going to be that difficult. But if you really want to delve deeper into any field or to know something really deeply about a subject, you really have to be willing to do that yourself, and you have to be very self motivated, and then approach teachers yourself, whether it is to ask them for be part of their research or thesis, or just in sense of clarifying anything, and they are very helpful. But the thing is that
Yeah,
you as a student have to go move on and get towards them and ask for things.
exactly. And teachers were really helpful. It's not like teachers are not willing to help the students, because I know that when I go to teachers in Peshawar University, in my university, and almost all the teachers were really, really helpful, and they appreciate that thing. Like if you ask them questions and you have some kind of confusion, so they are very happy to answer that and very happy to explain that thing. But overall, the academic system is like that. Like sometimes even teachers are powerless, like what to do. So this is the problem I felt like here. Everything is student centric. They gave us presentations, and even like sometimes 50% of the course we have to teach like each student, like okay, you have this topic, you have this topic, and then we go and we explain that, and we learn like how to research for that. And about research in Pakistan in bachelor's, like in geology specifically, we never had a subject like research methodology or something. Even though we had a thesis in the last year, but we never had research methodology subject. It's a crucial subject. We should have that. So these are some kind of things. Otherwise, we have really good field trips, even better than Europe, like in Pakistan. Like we have
Mm-hmm.
one thing is we have all kind of rocks, like igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks, and very good outcrops. And we had like lovely field trips. But again, the thing is here we when we were in Hungary, although they don't have like we even cannot call them mountains, they're little hills. Okay, there's not like a lot of rocks exposed there, mostly grass, and like everything is covered, and of very like few different ages rocks are exposed. But still we had like field trip of 14 days, and we lived in a small town in Galicia mountain, I guess, next to Tata. There's like very beautiful mountain. We will go there someday.
Mm-hmm.
It's really amazing. So uh, so we went there. So for first 2 or 3 days, teachers were with us, and they told us like how to map and how to identify these kind of rocks and how to. And then we came back to our station, and at night there were a lot of computers there, and they told us like how to map them in this software and how to do this and blah blah, blah everything. So but just for first 3 days. Then they made teams of 3 people, and we were on our own for next like 13 days or 12 days, and we mapped the whole area. And whenever we had confusion, we came back in the evening, and teachers were there at the station, so we asked them like, okay, we have seen this and this, and it was such an amazing learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to Pakistan, we go there and teachers told us, oh, okay, this is this rock, this is this, and this is this, and there's no expectation from student like, okay, you should know that. We
Mm-hmm.
came here, although we have like a little test at the end during the exam about the field, but that's just a multiple choice question like, okay, do this, and what is this, and what is that, like very basic, not something that we do during the field. I hope it
Okay.
is changing, but yeah, that thing I felt missing. Although we have amazing field trips, we had in total like around 1 month of field trips or more than that during our bachelors
Mm-hmm.
at various different times during our 4 years, 5 years. So yeah, this thing is different. And then the knowledge of common people about geology, that is like almost absent in Pakistan. Like, even very educated people, when I met you, you never heard of like
Yeah.
anything, like how rich our geological heritage is, and how there are amazing things. And I sent
Yeah.
my article to different magazines, and many like said like, oh, okay, this is not relevant, will not read that literally. I haven't
Oh
told you this,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
didn't know
got
about
already
that.
rejection from two different newspapers. That it's not something we publish. We want to publish something like very political and very these things, and but not something useful. I don't blame them. This is what we public want to read. But yeah, in Pakistan, that's completely missing. Like people have no idea how beautiful our country is in geologic perspective, and how amazing all these rocks are, and what they mean, and what is the history. And there's so much learning in the rocks, not just for people who are in their bachelor's or master's and doing geology, but just for any high school student, any bachelor student. For example, imagine like Mia Valley is like, I guess, just 4 hours from Rawalpindi, right? This
Could
much?
be. I'm not
Yeah,
exactly sure of Miwali.
yeah. But it's that like it's this much, like 4 hours, and there's so many fossils and so many amazing things there, geologically speaking. And if just leave alone everything else, just go there, take your children, for example, and for fossil collection. And people do this everywhere in Europe, and especially in UK. Like on Sunday, people go with their parents and just search for fossils and collect fossils, and then they talk like, okay, this is like shark teeth, and this is this, and this is that, and then they talk about this, and you have this connection with nature. Like, okay, these fossils, they were here like hundreds of million years ago, and they belong to ocean, for example. And now where is the ocean in salt range? So you
Mm-hmm.
can tell them like, okay, how the dynamics of our planet work if parents know.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, like, it's not very difficult to. I'm trying to like write something very in an easy language. I'm sure that in Pakistan there must be some books. I'm not sure actually. Maybe there are some books that explain the geology of salt range, for example, in easy way, and explain different outcrops and what they belong to, and there are glacial deposits in salt range. And so the basic purpose is like uh, to to develop this kind of connection that is missing, and this
Mm-hmm.
sense of belonging is very important. We have very like fake sense of belonging, like, okay, we are like proud Muslim, we are proud Pakistanis, we are anti like this country and anti that country. And
Mm-hmm.
so they are very fleeting things, and they change. They change with time, and they are not very nice way to build your belonging based on just being against somebody or against some country or against some mindset or this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, if you know that, okay, this piece of land, this is such an amazing land, it is like traveling from South Pole, and now it is here and it's seen so many things, and I'm just living on this beautiful land. It's so unique, it has so many unique things, unique birds and biodiversity and unique geology and fossils, and how many different kind of environments and geography this land has seen.
Well, people do say that the geography of Pakistan is amazing. It's a beautiful country. Sometimes we often compare it to Europe, as you definitely know about Savada. They call it the Switzerland of the East. So I think people do know at least that Pakistan geographically it's a beautiful country, and there is pretty much everything available that you can imagine. But then again, yeah, I don't think that they, including me, know the significance of how these beautiful places came to be and what is their significance in contribution to the environment, or um, any awareness about if there is a certain kind of rock. We're just going to say, okay, in Hunza, mountains are very dry, but not knowing why they are the way they are. Yeah, sure. So you want to do something like that for uh, in Pakistan, as I remember?
Yes, this is like one of my dream to start something like that. Like there are people who are doing, but mostly they are doing on rock art and like rock painting and these kind of things. There are people who are. I came across this halal tourism, on Facebook, and they are doing these kind of things,
Uh-huh.
but not so inclusive that. Because we know that, okay, everybody in the world know. Now we have some YouTubers, they're coming to Pakistan promoting the positive image. That's a very good thing about Pakistan, for Pakistan, sorry, to have this positive image. Like, we have amazing mountains, and but that's a superficial thing. Like, okay, that's very good and earning revenue and just going there, relaxing and enjoying these amazing like landscapes and everything. But still, like, we need to dig deeper, and we have a lot more to explore and to for education, for research purpose, for example, Grand Canyon. Now you're
Mhm.
not a geologist, but when Grand Canyon comes to your mind, of course, it's a nice landscape, very like unique landscape, but still you know that it's very important geologically, right? The
Uh,
rock layers. Even a person who a kid even know, like, okay, like when they hear about US, they know that, okay, there's a Grand Canyon there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And
believe
then
me, we
they
have like Salt Range is much better than Grand Canyon. Believe me, yeah.
really.
Yeah, we have all the rocks, and many rocks are like we have some little bit missing record, but otherwise we have from Precambrian to recent, we have everything in Salt Range. Literally everything, all ages are present.
Hmm.
So some of them are missing in the Paleozoic, but most of them we have there, and from Precambrian to recent, whole geologic time scale is there. How many people know about that and feel good about that? Like, okay, this is something we are blessed by nature.
But what do you think is the benefit of just normal people knowing so much about geology? Okay, I get the point when in Europe people on weekend go with their children and tell them about geology. Uh, but what is the overall significance of all of it? What do you think?
Okay, to start with, for example, education. So in we learn about different physical processes in classroom. For example, how rivers work. you know, and how different kind of, for example, evolution and different other processes, for example, mass wasting and earthquakes and everything, you know. So
Hmm.
all these geological processes, so you can actually go in different locations in Pakistan. For example, landslide. If you want to see landslide, you can go to like north of Pakistan. If you want to see the rivers, how rivers behave, you can go to next to Attack where like, and a lot of other places also, but there's like where Kabul and Indus River are meeting, and you can see like different kind of pebbles and these things that Indus River bring from the catchment areas, and you can tell, okay, river has been to this area, this area, this area, based on just looking at the rocks. So this is one thing for education. And then you can tell them like plate tectonic concept, like you show them like, okay, this look at this rock, there are like grains, and if you're not complete dum you can understand like if there's striations and how the rocks are cut. You can, if I take you there and I tell you like, okay, look at this rock and this is a glacial deposit,
Hmm.
and it's not something like you will say, oh, okay, it's not glacial deposit. I will explain to you and you will very easily understand like, okay, it's literally glacial deposit.
Hmm.
So then you can explain the concept of plate tectonics, because it's very difficult for a common person to understand like, okay, how can you say like, okay, the land is moving.
I
First
don't
you are
feel it.
there.
I'm just standing here. It's only an
Yeah,
earthquake that the land moves.
exactly. Now we are here, now we are there. It's a difficult concept to
Hmm.
grasp, but when you take them to the field and show them like, okay, look at this.
Hmm.
And same with the global warming. Like you say, oh no, ocean is in Karachi, so how can sea level rise? And in various countries, like many people who are denier of the global warming and all these things, they say, okay, sea level will not rise, and how ocean will come here, and I'm very protected, and all these things. But you show them, for example, Pakistan is salt, and we have ocean sediments.
Hmm.
So you can tell them like, okay, ocean is not something static. It's not something like just in Karachi. So the whole thing is very dynamic. This is because of plate tectonics, but still you can show them like, okay, it was here, glacier was here, desert was here, and now it is just like in the middle of nowhere, and we don't have all these things. It is a very different geographical location nowadays. It doesn't look nothing like it used to be. It was
Which
part of like a different location, and how it was happening there. So to understand the past is very important, especially in the present situation about the very rapidly changing the uh, climate climate stuff and all these things like climate change. And so they say like, I don't know who said this, but uh, they said present is key to the past and past is key to the future.
mm. Hmm. Okay, okay.
So
I mean, it
yeah,
is convincing. I mean, knowing about the environment that we are living in. In that sense, what do you think is the effect of global warming on the geology or the geography of Pakistan? And of course, it's not the geography that we care about; it's mainly the people. And so, what is the effect of those changes, those geological changes, on the people of Pakistan or the areas?
we have like there are uh, many things that could, for example, landslides. You know,
Hmm.
they can become worse, and other things. I can tell you about one thing: floods, for example. So nowadays, many times it happens like in past few years. I'm not exactly pinpoint like which year, but it happens like when we have very high temperature, you know,
Hmm.
and monsoon coincide with that very high temperature. So we have very high melting of glaciers in the north,
Hmm.
and the monsoon come at exactly the same time. So we have like crazy rivers, and we have a lot of floods. That's
Okay.
exactly related to the climate change and global warming, because we have like changes in the timing of these things.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is just one example. The other thing is like seawater intrusion in the coastal areas when sea level rise, and and people take, it's both ways, like because of sea level also, and because of the water extraction. When you extract the fresh water
Hmm.
from the coastal areas, the seawater come like inside the not on the top, but inside the, like in the aquifer, and it
Hmm.
make it saline. And this is happening like in many areas of Pakistan, in the coastal areas. Second thing, the other thing is like many areas are the desertification. like because of the we are cutting the trees, and now thank God, like in the previous regime of this regime of PTI, there are a lot of like forestation and reforestation
Hmm.
and
A
planting
billion
and all.
trees.
1 billion tree tsunami, or how was that?
I think it was a billion. It's
Billion
billion
trees.
is way too much, but I think it was a billion trees.
Yeah. So, but still, on the other hand, we are doing things like they're not very like useful for, uh, for example, the CPAC thing,
Hmm.
and they're like they are made Bhasha Dam, or I don't know which dam. Like so, there are a lot of
Noshera Dam, maybe.
no, no, this they are made Bhasha Dam. They are made Bhasha Dam, and this is part of
Mm.
CPAC, I guess. I'm
Okay.
not exactly sure, but it is in the Koistan area,
Mm.
where the CPAC is coming in. So, and there are a lot of rock art, and that is amazing. It's like thousands of years old, and they're not just one; they are in 5,000 or something like that at different locations within that area. And now they are building the dam, and this rock art will go under the water, and like nobody's talking about that. Very few people are talking about that. Like what will
Mm.
happen to that? And same is true for a lot of other locations. Like for example, how it will impact our glaciers, and then how it will affect our rivers and the people who are living next to the river.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how all these things, but we are so excited about that. Like okay, we are going to change in economic development, but we are not thinking about sustainable economic development, and we don't care about much actually.
Hmm.
And this is true for all the developing nations. Most of the developing nations actually.
Yeah, I mean there
Uh,
is a thing as well that when the it's not just a thing, it's they it's a, there is a research paper on that that when the economy of a country raises above a certain level, then people start caring more about the nature and the environment and all of these moral philosophy. It's also the Maslow's hierarchy of need is that once you have those basic security and your um, connection needs are met, then we move, or humans in general move on to the values of self enlightenment or caring of morality and caring about the nature and people stuff around us. Yeah,
it should not be like that. Like because it's not only like okay, uh, we were talking about before this call and before this video talking about the geoparks in Pakistan,
yeah. Hmm.
and this is the concept like if you have some location that is a geological location, a geological site that is of international importance, and then you can develop a geopark around it, and then UNESCO, like there's a lot of like long definition, but the overall meaning is this: like then you, with the help of UNESCO, like and UNESCO will accept your proposal, and you can develop a UNESCO geopark in a country, and
Hmm.
not one. You can do, for example, in Pakistan, we have many different locations where there are like really nice locations for the geoparks. For example, one is Salt Range, one is like North Pakistan, where we have igneous and metamorphic rocks, and Khoistan Island are an amazing, tectonically amazing location to like of international scientific value, and same is like Salt Range for international scientific value also. So when they develop the geopark, it's not about geology only. So there are like different things and different points in to consider. For example, international scientific value. Then there is like educational value. Then
Hmm.
there's touristic value, and there's some other points also. But there are three main points. So imagine if like we have a UNESCO geopark in Salt Range. Okay, so one thing is the heritage is preserved and people know more about it and all these things. Very good educational and research and this. But the other thing is like local people will get like they can start small businesses. They can open shops around this concept of geoparks. So I told you about the Spain I went to, the Spain I went to. So I went to this geopark in Spain, and
Gualda,
there
it's a very interesting name it has.
in Guadalupe.
Guadalupe. Okay.
Yeah, in Guadalupe is a very is a UNESCO Global Geopark, and there they have all these things. So they have like nice geology, plus they incorporated different other entities in the society also into that. For example, different farmhouses, vineyards, and olive gardens, and uh, different pools, and all these things into different restaurants. under the umbrella of the geopark. So we went to all of them and we bought stuff and we ate at some places, we swam at some places, and so all of them earn money. See,
Mm-hmm.
so this is not just to uh, to preserve our nature and our geology. It's also about to create businesses.
Okay, no, that's
And
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, from a country point of view, uh, and I guess Imran Khan government was also doing something about it to create tourism and to create opportunities for these recreational opportunities, not just for international people to visit, but also so that local businesses could grow and there could be more
yeah,
jobs for people. But I was saying that for a normal person, for an everyday person, like you wrote once an article about the fact that there was a shepherd where you went to a field and you saw a shepherd and you asked him a few questions about the places around and he actually didn't care about it because and you mentioned that in your article as well that why would he actually care about the mountains or how they look when he actually has a family to feed as in comparison to people in Spain, for example, when they have much better living condition and a higher
no,
uh,
this is the wrong point.
okay.
Guadalupe is one of the like most underdeveloped part of Spain. It's not true. Like they are like the most developed ones.
Yeah, but the absolute poverty level is much higher for I mean the
That I'm
economic
not sure,
situation.
but yeah, but they're like the not a very well developed part of. But now through education, they maybe like will be very well developed.
Mhm.
And the main point like is like okay, economic is one point and preservation is one point. Another point is like to be like to understand like where you stand and how what is your link with the nature. So it's all these things like okay, economical things and geological things, and but again, you should be proud of your land. You know, you should be proud of your area, and this nothing to do with either you're a geologist or not.
Mhm.
If you're living in a place and to like where are your roots,
Mhm.
to have this belonging, this feeling of belonging, like okay, what it means to be. Then Alexander the Great came in this area, and then there's a story that his horses start to lick the rocks, and then they develop the Cura salt mine. Actually,
Uh-huh.
this
Well,
is
is
a
that
story.
true or is it just a myth?
No, it is actually I read this on the in the Cura mine. They wrote this like so. I guess
Okay.
there's some hint of truth to it, but I'm not
Okay.
pretty sure.
Okay.
Then I guess Alberoni like measure the circumference of the Earth. That's also in salt range next to the this big fort. I forgot the name. So all these people, amazing people. Like now, I am from, for example, Attack. So when somebody asks me like, okay, tell us about your area, tell us about your history. So I know a little bit, you know. And if Attack is in the same, you know, we have also amazing rocks, but then like there's like army occupied all this Karachut area, so now it is not for public, but still we have like amazing rock outcrops.
Mhm.
But if I know that we have this kind of rocks, we have this kind of geology, this kind of biodiversity, all these amazing things. So this is such a nice thing to belong, and this belonging is very important to flourish in life because when we come to Europe, we see like these nice things, and people know about their areas, and they know about this thing, they feel proud of it. Then we become this lost things in the world. Like we don't know like we belong to Pakistan, we belong to here, we identity crisis, you know.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
develop
yeah.
the strong roots, this is very important to love your area, and you should have some valid reasons, not based on a position of somebody, a position of some religion, a position of some other. Because sadly, we are taught from the beginning like our identity is based on somebody else. See, like, because there's a country that we don't like, for example, so we are different than them. That's why we are.
Mhm. Mhm.
These people are not good. We are, our religion is different. Then we are.
Mhm.
This is the thing. Like instead of belonging in ourselves, like just we don't need anybody. Of course, we need any people around us to cooperate, and that's how the world works. But still, to carve out our identity based on our own ideas, based on our area, our locality. This is very
Hmm.
important.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what is your plan for the future in that sense? So, what do you plan? How do you plan to um, make geoparks, or you want to do something else? How do you plan on achieving the your goals in sense of creating geo awareness in Pakistan?
So I will first do like I'm planning to make. I told you like after this, I'm gonna finish this master in July and go to Pakistan.
Mm.
And first I develop a map about in a very in a straightforward language and easy way, not very academic jargon, but in an
Mm.
easy way about the different locations in geology, different locations in Pakistan and their amazing geology, and so anybody can go and see for themselves. Like if want to dig deeper, so they can click and then open the paper and do this thing. So
Okay,
one
so
this
it's like an
idea I have,
interactive map.
yeah, an interactive map, yeah. And we
Okay.
were talking about that, and we will further talk about that, like how can we develop that. So one thing is that. The other thing is like making small videos about in Urdu about different Urdu and English about different locations that I have enough budget and I can go and film and everything. Because Salt Range is very much near to my house. I just need like on my bike 4 or 5 hours. So I went also when I went to Pakistan last time.
Mm.
So I'll make some videos, and then there's a lot of literature. This is not like we have a lot of literature about the potential of Pakistan for geoparks. In the Geoheritage Journal, I read like there are few articles by Pakistani authors,
Mm.
and my one of them is my senior, and he was like a UNESCO project in Poland. He wrote like quite a few articles about the geoheritage value of Salt Range or Nusheira, and so there are a lot of things like academically present there.
Hmm.
So I'll talk to my teachers and how to make it more public and how to like, at least to start something to like in on paper at least to like okay develop an idea for example for salt range how can we do this and there's
Okay.
a collaboration could be collaboration between universities. I was listening to a very interesting lecture about one professor I forgot his name from Lahore University of Management Sciences LAMS, and he's not a geologist, he is like physicist and or something, and he was talking about this like and he knows about this geoheritage. He said like why there's no geology department in National University of Namal, not National University, sorry, Namal of Imran Khan that is just next to the Salt Range, and
Hmm.
why they don't have geology department and why don't they do these things
Mm.
in our sciences. So there are a lot of ideas actually. So I have, but basically, yeah, on my own, I will do these videos and write about this in Urdu newspapers and all this thing, like to just start the process and then collaborate with my professors in Pakistan and here also, and to collaborate with local governments. Let's see
Hmm.
how it will work out.
Sure, sure. And we already are quite, I think, more than a. It's been like 1.5 hour that we are having this discussion. Um,
That's amazing. I guess we should wrap up.
yeah, I think we should wrap it up. But before that, I think I would like to ask you, just not of such high or not so long in the future, but recently, how is your thesis going on? How are you doing
That's
in your
going
life?
very well. Actually, it's very hectic. I have little time left. Just yesterday, I got to know that I need to finish it. I need to submit my manuscript until 10th of June
Okay.
and need to defend until 23rd of June. On 23rd of June, sorry. And that's not enough time at all because I every day I go to lab from 9 in the morning until 6 or 7 in the evening every single day. Every
Hmm.
single working day I go, and still I have done just like 7 samples out of 28 and haven't written anything. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, I'm so tired when I just come back at 6. I told you already. I just sleep without eating even.
Hmm.
So now
Well,
we're
you
planning
should
to
you
write an
should be
email to our coordinator that please extend it to until at least July,
okay.
like middle of July or something. So let's see how it turn out.
Yeah, I mean, for sure you're going to be very tired, but I think it's always good to take care of your food because the more you don't eat, it's going to affect it's going to affect your mood and it's going to affect your productivity.
Oh,
Uh,
it affects everything, of course.
yeah, 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 yeah. Anyways, thank you very much, Sikandar Hayat. I I hope to talk to you soon again.
Oh, definitely.
At the end of the video, and at the same time, maybe some other day on video, on camera again about some other topic. Until then,
For sure.
thanks a lot for the time. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to be part of this series. And
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome.
yeah, and
Thank
have
you.
a good day.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.